Now, as can happen, we went out to the field. It was really, really windy, and I wanted to see just how far into the wind we could push this. And what happened is I had a breakaway gear landing, terrible landing. My own fault. Field was real mushy and rough. So what I'm going to do is a little bit of a repair here before we can go on to the next phase of testing. This is definitely oil soaked. Keep in mind, this is a plane made in '86. It's going on 15 years old. Everything is really, really corroded and wet and everything here. But I'm going to try to put on camera. It'll take, well, maybe 5 minutes or so, just what would be involved in repairing something like this efficiently. Now, the first thing in any repair, anytime you do a repair, this is so critical. Save all the parts. We may not want to use them, we may not have to, but save them all. They're oil soaked, they're a mess. But we want to use, or use them at least for patterns. But in this case, the problem is everything is so oil soaked, I don't even know if these parts are going to be salvageable. But the first thing, I'm going to get in there with some clean, well, you can see the stuff just coming off of there. Clean that up with M600, get as much of that goop out of there as possible. Now, I always keep M600 in a spray bottle. It's a good idea to spray it in there. It's not going to hurt anything because it all evaporates anyway. By the way, the first couple of days we were out with this plane, we had some really interesting things happen, and they're on a previous tape with the tank shim. The tank shim needs to be really high off the mounts. Now, I don't know if part of that, and this is what I hope I'm going to learn in the next week or so, is because of where we have the carburetor, that we need the tank closer to the carburetor. Again, we're going to find that out. This is one of the things that we think we're going to find it out. You always think you are. Anyway, by cleaning this up, letting it soak in. Now what happens, you get this residue from castor oil and everything, and I just keep throwing the paper towels away until you get it relatively clean. You can't really glue to oil. I haven't figured out a way to do that yet. And this part, I'm not sure. I'm going to soak this in M600, but I don't know whether it's going to really be usable or salvageable or not. First thing I'm going to need to do is get down in here with a relatively sharp blade and get out all this oil-soaked material. Keep in mind, this is a 15-year-old airplane. It's real handy to have compressed air to blow this stuff away. And what I'll try to do is make a doubler so I have some surface area to catch on this. Get in there and using compressed air and a vacuum cleaner, keep the area as free as possible of goop. Now see, here's what's important to understand is when a gear is mounted in here, what really happens is when you have the kind of accident we had with this case, it pulls the gear back. So the force we want to get the force. I want to make this plate, I'm going to make a new plate by the way, and get it further forward in the plane and get as much surface area to bond to here as I possibly can. If you just make the piece the thickness of this, it's probably going to tear out again. So I want to make it possibly an inch, 3/4 of an inch even in front of this. It doesn't need to go any further back. It needs to go forward of this. In a real oily, terrible repair like this, one of the materials that I've found works extremely well, and you can get this from CST, or you can get it right from Gouchon Brothers, but you have to buy a 50-pound tube of it. But this is the material that I found for doing this kind of a repair. Works real well. What I do is I really accurately weigh this. It's 2.2 on a grain scale. By the way, this is the glue that the whole Miss Ashley fuselage is held together with, this glue. And I think Noel Drindak has been using something similar to this. I'm going to get the paperwork from him this week. But having these high-end glues really makes it, first of all, it makes a lot of these repairs like this a lot easier than if you didn't have them, and a lot more structurally sound. Really important thing, can't say this enough. When you think this glue is mixed, or any glue, mix it 2 minutes more. Especially this kind of high-end glue really You get the best results when you really mix it. Now I always use a little brush. This is Thixotropic glue, so it stays. You can hang it on a ceiling. You can hang ceiling tiles with it. Well, maybe not hang ceiling tiles, but you can paint the ceiling with it. It doesn't drip or drool. But that extra little mixing really seems to work. Now I cut my little reinforcements, and while this is drying, I'm going to make up the plywood piece. And I want it to come further. The trick is with repairing a gear. And boy, there was one year at the Nats I saw 4 or 5 or 6 people repairing gear, and they're just putting the same old piece back in. Well, you know that's going to have a limited effectiveness. Now we have to fly over a really rough field, and we're going to have basically unlimited amounts of people flying this thing, people of all skill levels. So we don't want to have somebody just come in and make a bad landing and then feel bad that they tore the gear out of the plane either. Probably the hardest piece of balsa I could find. Rock hard balsa. Okay, I want a nice press fit before I put the glue. And now I can really paint this in here. Again, this glue really has to dry overnight. We're not going to fly tomorrow anyway. We're going to be working on some of our other projects here. And the reason we're trying to get as many flights as possible is because the flying season is going to be ending soon, and we're already planning our new projects for next year. Another thing that I always believe is important, let's see if we can do it correctly on video here, is get the glue on both sides. A good way to do that is, sometimes it's these little tricks that help you get a good repair going too. And we want to coat the whole part with epoxy because this is right on the center of gravity. This really isn't going to be a big deal if we add a ½ ounce here, a ½ ounce there. Plane's over 70 ounces anyway, and it's been, actually the test flights we've had have been pretty good so far. We're coming up on a point where we're going to start doing patterns and videotaping them and getting other people to fly the plane and give us feedback. Now I'll do the same thing on the 2 sides up here, so I have kind of a big H. Alright. Tip is I have plenty of that glue in there, and have the blind nuts in already. And we're going to wait till that dries. As soon as it dries, then I'm going to start laying in all the pieces. Try to fill that hole up so that in the morning when we come back, that piece will all be glued in place. Doing this repair, and this is all dry, and all this epoxy is drying and everything. The one thing in all of the test flying I've done is I've never been able to get the tank high enough in the plane, and I think that's because of where the carburetor is. Carburetor is in other words, it really should be further up or down, or ooh, we don't even know. But what I'm going to try to do, because every time I raise the tank, the run gets better and better, or more equal. So what I'm going to try to do is I'm just going to try a couple of flights without the pads in, just to let the motor sit down on the wood so it increases the space between. And you can see we have virtually looks pretty rough in here, but as rough as it is, we're still learning from this plane. We're still getting things accomplished, and well, it's still a good airplane. The pads out of the plane, the motor, actually it benefits the vertical CG here. I'm going to burn if it, get up. Benefits the vertical CG in the fact that the motor is now higher in the plane, which actually would be corrected. Brian here has promised to get me a prop nut so we can try using a spinner. And the next test is to run it without the muffler, with the muffler, Uniflow, no Uniflow. We're just going to let the epoxy dry on the gear here, put some weights on this, get the carbon gear back on there. That was a good day though. The first, oh, look at this. Yeah, sit on the prop. You dumb thing. Don't bite my, get. Yeah, he thinks it's a perch. Oh, it's just another muddy, soggy day up here. Wish we could get some better weather, but what we want to really accomplish today is to try to get this tank shim finalized and maybe even test some props. It really makes working up here a problem that it's so muddy and slippery and gooey and really is a mess. But it isn't stopping us from getting the job done. Well, the last couple of days, other than the gear being torn out of the plane, and basically because the field is so rough and bumpy, you can see how bumpy it is. And because this plane is 15 years old, 14 years old, and really not much of it isn't oil soaked by now. And in fact, all I'm hoping is the gear are going to hold up. I brought up a whole bunch of propellers. In fact, I got my whole box of props. One of the things I want to try in the next couple of days, or maybe even today, is run it without the muffler. Bob Zambelli runs his without the muffler. So far, the biggest thing that we needed to get, we still need to get it right, is the tank shim. I've not been able to move the motor, the tank, far enough away from the mounts to get it to run dead equal yet. The thing I've tried to come up with is a starting routine that I'm happy with. I made a little vent hole in the top. This is for the crankcase vent. What happens is the motor is so close to the top block that I can't really even get a tube on there inside the body, so I'm going to try to improvise something here. I don't know what yet. Just want to have that vent, make sure it's open during all our testing. And it's surprising when you have a model that's this old. This plane actually won the concourse in '87. Finishes still in most spots that aren't this. The fuselage is the part that's rotted away and oil soaked. But even more reason that in the future we're going to be channeling a lot of our effort into carbon fiber parts. If this plane were carbon fiber, I could just make up another body and I'd have for all purposes a brand new plane. Oh, even though the air is stone dead, and I mean it is stone dead here, and the field is like a sponge. I'm going to try to get some runs, get some time on the engine, do a little fiddling with the muffler with the props. And as soon as I have enough data that it's worth it, I'm going to try to write up a little article that'll go out on Bob Zambelli's list on our AT Club and for Pampa. But we need to gather data right now. Things, the day you want to do some testing, they're repaving the road here. You can hear in the background dump trucks and dumpsters and things going in and out of here. I was hoping it'd be real quiet because I want to go home and I want to listen to I wanted to record some flights, in fact, if it doesn't rain anymore today. We have a 4-ounce tank in here and I'm going to start recording the runtime. This is 5% two-cycle fuel. Then I want to use 10% two-cycle fuel and then 15% 4-cycle fuel, and I want to just get a gauge on what the run times are. On the 5% fuel, it's running about 5.5 minutes, which I guess is close. Of course, there's no problem. We could put even a 7-ounce tank in this plane. It's not a problem at all. Listen to this noise. Oh man, I'm gonna wait till some of this noise goes away. Dumpsters. If you want to fly, look what I got to deal with here. We're going to wait until some of that noise goes away because it's very distracting and I want to hear the engine run. Now the first flight, I just was kind of disappointed about the way all this noise in the background is leading me to believe we're not going to get a lot done today because I can't hardly hear the motor run. And actually what they want me to do, they want me to vacate the field, so I'm going to have to, or else I'm not going to be able to get out of here. They're going to pave over me. What a disappointment here, just when I thought we were getting something accomplished. Anyway, that's life. You can't always win. Today's mail, and this is something we're going to be testing real soon. Merlin glow plugs. These are from John Lowry. He sent me a couple of dozen. We're going to be giving them a test. We have idle bar, no idle bar. He didn't send any 4-cycle ones, but I want to get some. I'm going to call up and get some. But anyway, they're available from John Lowry. Let me put his address up on here if anybody would like to try one. And we'll be out at the field. We'll try to get a couple of them in Tiger 60 planes. We'll try them out in a jet. We'll see how they work in the 4-stroke. They're new on the market. Merlin glow plugs. And I hope they finish paving that road. They ruined my whole day today with that paving going on there. But maybe tomorrow we can get up there and get some flights. And videotape a few flights. Also some really exotic pictures. This is from Phil Granderson in California. He was working on the Brodak dope colors here for, oh God, a long time. I remember speaking to him many times on the phone. It really looks like the effort paid off. Nice cowling treatment. Check out the cowling treatment on this. Phil's Chiseler. Phil Granderson. Thank you for the pictures. We'll pass them on to Stunt News. And then we get back to playing with 4-strokes. Well, the mist and the dew is still on the grass, and we're going to try to get up to the Circle Burner field. We're going to try to meet Joe Adamusco up there. Maybe get him interested in doing some work with 4-strokes. Maybe even get him to fly Tradition here for a while. Looks like the 4-stroke email list that Bob Zambelli has started has already given us great results. We've already gotten a couple of tricks and tips off it for working on this carburetor, so it's a useful thing, and the best of all, it's free. If you want to be on the list, just simple as pie. Email Bob Zambelli. There aren't many things nicer than getting up real with. I set the alarm for 5 o'clock for these sessions. Get all my stuff done around the house, and then basically have a nice big chunk of the day free. Looks like it's going to be a good one. Let's hope. But at the Circle Burner field, you never know. But we're coming up on a significant thing. Is starting next weekend, we're going to be able to use the new field with the 4 paved circles. So this might be one of the last days that we come up to this field on a weekend. First flight of the day. Joe's getting us a square 1 flight. And the objective here is to get a lot of people to fly this plane. We're not trying to do Matt's winning stunt patterns. We want to see what other people's feedback is. Mike has flown the plane. I've flown the plane. We may have some other people here today. Get some feedback. And Joe and I are already thinking about giant typhoons. Joe's already thinking he can get his buddy at Boeing to go get us some drawings. Anyway, it's still just a pipe dream, but we're thinking typhoon already. Burying that big 4-stroke in that Napier 24-cylinder cowl. Now keep in mind the things we don't have yet. We don't have a real good starting routine where it starts on the first flip it just happened to start on the first flip this time, but we don't have that in the bank yet, what I call in the bank. And we don't have actually the prop that belongs on here. This is the 14.5. We'll probably wind up with something with a little less pitch. And the air is stone dead right now. You can see the flag isn't even moving, so you really can't do 2 or 3 maneuvers in a row. And there's humidity, to get the idea of the conditions. My feet are soaking wet already. But what we do want to get is just get flights for Joe, let him see, because he may become part of the Typhoon development program. And it's nice having an old plane to do that. You know, it's always my feeling, if one person can fly something well, that's great. But if you can get a wide variety of people of all skill levels to do it, same with the design of a plane. When every skill level guy can build one, it seems like then you have something special. All right, for a square 1 flight, I'm just guessing Joe's going to be relatively happy with this. What we want to do is wait for the wind to come up. The sound, I don't know how the sound's going to pick up on the video, but boy, the sound is nice on the ground. And we're out here on purpose. We got out here about an hour before we ever get to fly. You can see we're still in shadow. And I wanted to see if the neighbors or the cops would even know we're here. So that means probably the state police will be here in 2 minutes. Fusco, get acclimated flight. Now, one thing I was able to deduce from being outside the circle, I'm timing every flight with my stopwatches, and the air is still dead, of course. We go in a click, it goes a little bit faster, not much. You go out a click, it goes a little bit slower, not even a tenth though. So what I'm guessing is, the next part of this that we're going to have to do or work on is getting some props, same prop with a little more pitch, a little less pitch. So right now we've got the dead air. I just want Joe to get some time flying. When Konjeski gets here, you can see that air is stone dead. You really can't do 2 maneuvers right in a row. Now, one of the big concerns I had, because of the weight of the motor, and pretty much other people had told me, oh, you go putting a heavy motor in a plane, it's not going to have a corner. I haven't found that to be true. Not yet, anyway. And at this field, when you can go through the bad air, you know you can pretty much go anywhere. The one thing that is a little scary with this is the motors do run backwards, and I've flipped it and by hand and had it backfire and start backwards on me. And what happens if it's in the stooge and you're not holding it? It's a very eerie thing you want to be careful of. If you start it with an electric starter, and we do have a starter, just for the times when you want to see if that's going to be practical. I never thought I'd see the day I'd use an electric starter, but on a 70, especially something new, I just don't want to spend a lot of time on that part of it right now. Until we get a Venturi and I know what that dead setup routine is going to be. Anyway, we're running a little shorter than I like on fuel. That's why Joe's leaving out level laps. But the motor, even with the tank all screwed up in the wrong position here, runs pretty, well, relatively consistent, I would guess. And the plane still looks like it has a pretty good corner, even with what I would think is the extra weight. But the main thing I accomplished today, and it's the big one, is I got Joe thinking Typhoon. As soon as I get him, see, Joe is such a good partner. He is the best. And if I get him thinking Typhoon, a week from now he'll be calling me, he'll be sending me rib templates, and I'll get some of the people out there to start sending me pictures of Typhoons, and we'll be rocking. Now tell me this isn't like, if you've ever been to the Reno air races or around Mustangs, the sound is, as it goes by, you hear that little exhaust crackle, just like a real aeroplane. I don't know how you could make that more realistic. And it's got the whine, the Merlin whine. And we know that people overseas love the sound of these 4-strokes. They just love them. I don't know. We're having fun anyway. And like all adventures, we don't really know where we're going. We don't care. That's part of being a real adventure in life. So in the next couple of flights, what we're trying to do, we're going out one click at a time to see, even though we have this tank shimmed so it's so wrong, just to see what kind of range we have on that needle setting. Yeah, the 120 has a supercharger.
Hunt's gonna be a Hall of Famer.
Well, he deserves it. I understand. Listen, next flight, what do you think? Go out 2 clicks? Let's see what the range is. What we're trying to do is establish how many clicks of range we have here before we have to de-pitch a prop. I'd say we could go out some more.
Hey, something different, you know. Toys for the boys.
Now, we tried the 4-cycle fuel and it runs really nice. It seems to run at a slower RPM clean. That's one thing. By the way, this is 15%. And we've been going through our box of props. One of the ones I want to try is a stock one. I want to try one that hasn't been cut or carved on. These are 14.5 rev ups. But in the meantime, what's happened, and this is we've flown for 3.5 hours and we haven't even, look how much fuel we use. Normally we would use more than, normally I've gone through 2 gallons in one day when I have a flying partner. And he's just out here burning fuel, flight after flight, flight after flight. Good flying partner, he's like Kajeski. Burn that fuel. combination both Joe and I like, as the day's wearing on here, is the stock 14.5. No cutting, no pitching, just a balance job. And the 15% Power Master and the electric starter for kind of instant starts. That combination has what's come out of the day. Still don't have the tank shimmed right, but we're going to work on that. And we still don't have a Venturi in the motor, and we still don't have an air filter on the motor. All that stuff will be coming in the next fly-in session. Any day you have a test day, you got a prop balancer and props and fuel and glow plugs and everything, and more trash than you can imagine. The BYNO 13.5 is certainly the slowest of the props, but doesn't have really the same drive as the 14.5 rev-ups. You can see even the maneuvers are really slow here, which will have, there'll be a time and place for these 13.5 BY. We got a 6 we're going to try. We got some rev-up 12.5s. And our other test pilot just arrived here, so you can get his impression. This is getting the speeds down to where we like them. This is the BYNO 13.5 here. Again, just a question of doing all the testing, having everything out at the field at the same time, and having some great test pilots. We've had to resort to having 2 test pilots here. But what we came away from our test program liking the 14.5 rev up absolutely stock as our choice, and the Power Master 4-cycle fuel. So far that looks like the combination we like. But like all days, family things are calling. Maybe I'll leave the plane with Mike here. He could fly it while I'm back home. Leave the field. We have to leave. Elliot Scott's wife's going to be here for 2 days, but Mike is going to take the plane. He's already got somebody lined. I think he's got Cooper out there. And they'll try to get everybody in the club to fly it, get as much feedback as we can, and see if some part is going to need attention. So far we've had kind of a flawless day. Not one part has fallen off so far. Well, we've completed another phase of our 4-cycle testing, and one of the things we've come up with some really obvious conclusions. We've got about 3 gallons of fuel. We've had at least 6 or 7 people fly in a plane at various times, but we're ready to move on to the next phase here. Before I move on to the next phase of this testing, we're going to try to, hard to explain. We have so many things involved here, and Joe Adamusco from this session was convinced he's going to try to get a YS53. We may have that by next weekend. You can get those motors overnight shipped, by the way. We're going to try to get Bob Dixon to do a little rib demonstration for us. He has sent me a video with a little bit of a demonstration showing his shop, and since this OS70 actually physically is his motor, before I start modifying it and trying to make a real stunt motor out of it, I think we should give him the center stage for about 10 minutes. Now Bob looks like one of these people that's very casual. He's highly educated. He's a college professor or whatever he is. I don't know, but he's got an education. There's no doubt about it. He wasn't a farmer like I was. But anyway, we're kind of getting him out of his shell, getting him on center stage here, and he does have a lot of good little tips to share. We hope this is not going to be the last one. And he does great Joey Buttafuoco imitations. So Bob, the stage is yours. Bob? Bob who? I thought I was on center stage. I'm the bird. Don't let that Bob on center stage. Get him off it.
I'm looking for Joey Buttafuoco over there. This is Bob Buttafuoco over here. But if he's out getting his coffee, you know I'm from the Buttafuoco brothers, then you can turn it off and forget about it. Right there. Buttafuoco Stunt Team. The name of the game. Alright, welcome to Bob's Workshop. I got everything all laid out here. This is specifically for Jeff, for Wendy, and God only knows how far around the world this might go, or it may not even go anywhere. So what? I got all my stuff set up. I want to give you a little tour of the shop, but I'm going to have to take this thing off of the stand for a second, and I'm going to preview this and make sure that I got the right angle of attack and all that stuff. So give me a second. I'll show you around the shop. Welcome to the Crystal Palace. You'll see why in a second. Alright, I'm back on with you. And this is my little corner of my dad's workshop. Got all kind of stuff in here. Just for nostalgic reasons, this is my old Track 1. This is the first stunt ship that I designed and built in 1996 when I got back into stunt, and it has like 60s technology in it. Little heavy with a 40 in it, double star 40. Didn't fly so hot. Like I say, this is my little corner here. Got some carpet on the rug there. Kind of saves my feet. I'm a little bit cramped, but this is all I got to work with for now. And need a little cord here. This is the hangar area. This is where all the crystals are hanging up. The very far one over there at the end, that's the prototype with the monocoat on it. The second one is the one that's got the blue top on it. Let me see if I can get down, and I guess this must look weird with these seeing double. It's got the navy blue top on it, and then the latest one that I had at the Nats this year is right here in the front. Made several changes since the Nats took it out and flew it with Tom Dixon and the Cobb County Sky Rebels yesterday morning. Had a blast with those guys, Robbie Gruber and all them. And these are just supplies way over here. I got my extra wing all set up. It's ready to go, and going to be putting that little bit of a 94-stroke demonstration on it for Wendy especially. We'll probably get to that this evening or tomorrow, and then we'll mail this out to you guys. Hang tight. Little pause here for station identification from the Buttafuoco Coffee Makers. Alright, here we go. First of all, I've already made up one set of ribs. This first part of this is going to be the rib making setup. And as you see, I got crystal number 1, number 2, number 3 up here. This is crystal number 4. This is the stack that's going to represent crystal number 5. It's just all the raw ribs. And here in the next 20 or 30 minutes, we're going to get that cut out and get it in the same shape as this. Kind of show you how, or what method I use to at least make me a nice set of ribs. Let me tell you, when you get this done, and you like the way it is, your 1/4 inch square, look, even termites can't get in there, even in the front, where it goes on the front. Of course, I got some tape on it right now, but I promise you, I'll take that piece of tape off. Termites can't get in there. You want a nice fit, especially on this top here. That's leveled right there. Just perfectly flush with it, both sides. There's a way to just slow down and do that so that you get it just exactly like you want it. It'll make a nice set. Now, I've added a wing panel to my new ship for a little bit more square inches as per Wendy's proposal. So I've got about 30 ribs in here. It's a stack about that long. The only bummer about it is that the stack is too tall to reach underneath my Dremel saw, so that I can cut this out. I kind of have to do this by hand, and that's the last step. Alright, so the first thing that I've done is I've taken all my SIG, what do we call it? My 4 to 6 pound contest grade balsa. I've cut these strips out from small to large based on the fact that both rib templates will fit. And I just stacked them together any old way. But what's important is that I want all of my ribs to have the grain running lengthwise. So this first template like this is going to lay down here like this. There won't be any pieces like where you take it and you cut it from the sheet. I don't want any pieces like this and catty cornered around. I want the grain running straight on every one of them. So you lose a little wood here, but it's worth the investment. And then I just take and stack the rest of them up, and I cut each piece off the edge of the balsa that I've already squared off. So what I've got is a nice flat piece right here. You know, I guess I'm holding that in the right angle there. This is nice and flat. It's been laid down on the table. You know, I don't have any room. It's been laid down on the table like this and flattened out, and then I put one rung of tape around it just to hold it together. Now here's what I do next. I take my rib template, and just a little bit about this. I've got two notches. I got a notch here for 3-inch sheeting, a notch here for 4-inch sheeting. But here's what I learned. With a 60 size ship like this, the 3-inch sheeting, it let the camber of my silk span when it came over, and even if I double silk spanned it, when I covered it, this curve here allowed too much of a dip in the silk span over a previous ship that I did that just, it looked like it was a solid wing, but it was really covered with silk span. And what I did was I cut the sheeting short to save me a little bit of weight, and it wasn't that significant. I'm going to use the 4-inch notch this time and bring my sheeting on over to here, and this, what little bit of curve right there, when you stretch your silk span lengthwise and double sheet it, it'll just about take it completely away, and it'll really look awesome. So that's why I like to do that. All right, I'm going to lay this puppy here. Before you go, all right, I had to get back into this. I think I can get a little bit closer so you can see a little bit more. Anyway, I'm redoing this part. Here's my stack. I've taken all of this wood that I lined up with the grain, and I put that flat piece on there. I've got my outboard, or my inboard wingtip, wing root, and I'm laying it in there in alignment with the grain. I'm sighting that because this part here is just an eyeball thing. If you're taking a look at this, I'm going to move this forward just enough to where I know that I'm going to get a bite of fresh balsa right there, because I can see I've got relatively a nice little angle here. I'll get this up front, and I know that I'm going to bring this away about 1/8 of an inch right here. Once I get that in place with my thumb, I'm going to eyeball this grain there. I can bring this down just a bump. All right, and I kind of like that. Now I'm just going to hold that into place. And I'm going to do the tip root. Now, what's important at this point, since I'm just like eyeball engineering, is if I line up my tip root and I put it in there like that, and I run it down the center, I can tell now that I have about 3/16 of an inch between here and here. Since there's another 1/8 of an inch, I need to lay my root tip 1/4 of an inch away from the edge, just to be close enough for Buttafuoco work. So I'm going to flip this over, still holding all this into place. And here's the first thing I'm going to do. I'm going to get it about 1/4 of an inch away from here first. Then I'm going to look at the end, and I'm going to look at the other end and say, well, that's pretty close. I'll slide it up just a bump. Alright, once I get that there, I've got about 1/4 of an inch here, and to prove it, we'll put a 1/4 inch square. We'll tuck that right in there and say, pretty close. Then I'm going to look down my grain here and say, do I like that? Well, the way to tell is to look at it like this and roll it over. And I've turned this over on the wrong side, but I have a center line down there normally. I'm going to move this over a little bit. Alright, and then I'll watch for my rib slot marks. It's got to come down some. And that's all I do to this is eyeball it. Now some of y'all might have a little bit more precise way of doing this. Alright, like exact measurement from the table, from here to your center line, here to your center line. That'd be the best way to do that. can take this ruler right here, and again I'll go back to my glass and measure from here to here, and I see that I'm like 1 1/8 of an inch. Measure it on the other side. 1 1/8 of an inch. Pretty close there. I'm holding this in place, and what I'm going to do is drill the first hole. Got the old drill set up, and I'm going to go from hang on a second, I don't like something here. Hold it. Let me stop. Alright, it looked like I had a short piece of stock in there, so I realigned up my ribs. I put the root really close to the edge there, remeasured back. I'm just going to take my good old drill here. I'm going to be real careful. I'm going to start drilling in there, and I'm going to look over here to the side and see if I got something close. I'm headed for the other side. I just want to hit that hole is all I do. And I nailed it. And there it is. It's coming out. I run it back through this side. Alright, got these big bolts. Run them puppies through. Doesn't matter what end you put on where. Take these washers. I run this down. Hand tight. That's all I do. Alright, now I can take a last minute glance and look down this like this and make sure that my lines are lined up. I like it that way. This time I'm going to hit the back side, and I'm going to go here for this far back hole. It's at a little bit of an angle. Oops. Hang on, I got the wrong one. Back to front. Just going to go right through there. And I notice I hit the rib on the other side. So what? I'll flip this puppy over here. And with anything close, you know why this doesn't matter? Because I'm just shaving off some more balsa wood. But voila, I got it. I had it. Let's try this again. There we go. Alright, now I'm just going to put this one in. Just for a moment. Because I might suspect that you might be thinking, well, great day, Bob. What are you going to do with that piece of tape? Alright, my bolt's in. Before I put that nut on there, I'm just going to take this tape. And since I got a little bit of balsa wood to play with, I'm going to start peeling this away. This is all I did before. It'll just pick up. And remember, that's going to come out of there, so I can just take a slice right there. That piece comes off, throw that away. Run this back. Shove this way, get that piece of tape. Ah! It tore, so what? I'll pull it out on this side. Yeah, sometimes this is aggravating here. Alright, that's that piece of tape. And then on this side, I should be ordering a pizza by now. I'll pull that one out. Find me a little edge to pull on this one. Got the tape out, but I've already got the holes drilled, so I ain't worried about no alignment. Voila. Take the other washer, take the nut. Okay. Now I got something within mighty close tolerance that even a Buttafuoco can put up with. Again, this might be just a little bit, I won't say crude, but I'm not seeing no need for great precise measurements here. Hang on a sec. Another station delay. Okay, I'm back. I'm going to show you a little trick that I like to do just to be economical. I'm sure I'm not the only guy in this position, but the local hobby shop is like 30 minutes away, and when it's Sunday morning or Sunday afternoon or Saturday night and they're all closed, I want to whack up this block of ribs, and I'm going to use this X-Acto long blade thingy there. I bought a couple of these in a package like 40 years ago, I guess. I'm still using the same ones because when I was a kid, my dad made me master of the stone, and I sharpen all my knives like in 3 stages. And stage 3 is the stage that I sharpen my knife to, and I can shave with it. It comes out like a razor. And the secret is getting the blade and the angle of attack down to an Arkansas stone level. So if you ever heard of an Arkansas stone, this is one of those tri-stone jobbies, and the bottom one came off. I use a drop or two of honing oil, and I'll even put it on my Arkansas stone. And I want to balance this here so I don't mess this up. I've kind of pre-sharpened it, but I want a fresh, sharp blade. I'll lay it at 45 degrees and come across here. You don't use a lot of pressure when you do this. You use a lot of pressure and you scrub and rub the edge of the stone, you're going to really mar your blade and you'll be starting all over. So some nice, just feel the stone, 45 degrees. I like a pull and a push. I like to push the steel over the stone both directions. I never go 2 to 1. I always go 1, 1, 1, 1. Then, let's say I'm done. You want to tell if it's sharp or not, and you feel that blade like this. Alright, take it and touch it on the back side of your fingernail at about 45 degrees. If it bites into your nail like that, it's sharp. If it rubs off easy, it's still dull. When you finish with the stone, you want to reach down here, pull off the old leather belt. Now, I don't know that you can see all of this, but I'm going to try and get most of it in the pics here, I think. I pull my belt, and just like a barber does, you won't believe the edge that this will put on it, but there's a right way to do this. You take the blade and you lay it down away from you and you pull it across. You flip it over the top. You don't do this like everybody normally does. You pull it this way, you push it back. Now when you do this with your blade on leather, you don't do it too many times. And you don't push the blade hard down on it, you just rake it over it. Alright, about a half a dozen to 10 times. That's all you need. Just a little bit of leather on it. You practice that a little bit, you won't believe it. You'll be right back into making those big blades that you like and that you've been throwing away and that are costly. That'll bring them right up to speed. And watch, you're going to see I'm going to shave that balsa with it like crazy. Of course, I got to get dressed again so I can keep my pants on. Here. Buzz, don't you say nothing if you see this. Woo! Alright, Buttafuoco Queen. Of course, we have a pizza queen me and Jeff have delegated to. We'll talk about her later. Alright, here we go. We'll get right up here. I ain't worried about the floor, although I will get my trash can out and lay it here to catch some of this garbage. And I'm just going to fly into it. Of course, grain down first. Look at that old knife go to town. Yeah, you didn't think it'd work, did you? I'm going to take this and shave this. And what I'm concerned with right now is just getting the top and the bottom done. Yeah, just whack it off. It'll run it right off. No problem. Alright, remember I got my rib templates to fall back on, but I'm not going to get too close to them yet. Just in the area. and of course pulling it back to me, I'm going to be a little bit careful here. Alright, because it'll cut it. But I don't want to slice my finger off, of course. Then I can't fly for 2 months. If anybody needs to fly a lot, it's me. Alright. Had a real good session the other day. I moved my pipe back a little bit. Gave me a little bit more consistent engine run in the maneuvers. I felt I was speeding up. Trying to give you some conversation as I'm hacking and whacking through this. Alright, again, I kind of want to be careful here. I'm whacking at the root first, and it's going to leave a bevel in the middle. Alright, now I'm on that side, and I'm going to pull it back to me. Yeah, just rake all this off. Oh yeah, floor material. Oops. Too far into the grain there. Let's fix that. Alright, I see all kind of videos and movies and articles and stuff. And the one tool that I use a lot that I don't see guys using is what's going to hack this right down to the next layer and the next level. See, this is another nice thing about this blade is that I've got 30 ribs in here, and it just about reaches across here perfectly fine, and even the tip of that blade is sharp enough that it'll grab every bit of this and hack that right down. Now I'm close, got to be careful. Take off too much, got to start all over. Now the other side, this is where the flat is. Hey, not a problem. Most of the work's done here. Look at that, I just rake that off. Alright, I could cut the tape off here and just go ahead and get this done, but I'm really close to the next step. It's the next step I'll finish for you. And look at that, this is nearly done here. Just whack off a little bit of that middle. I'm going to leave this center area. It's pretty close to the tip. I'm going to leave it like it is. Go ahead and shave this on down here. Oh yeah, just hack it. Whack right into it. I almost forgot I'm not at the root. Flip it over here, get back to the root. Just run those strips off. No problem. Exacto sharpness, compliments of good old Arkansas stone. Now remember, I just hacked out strips of boss off of my sheets, big enough to cover the root rib. If you can make it big enough to cover a bunch of root ribs, you're going to get the tip. And the rest of that balsa, it's going in the trash can. Anyway, I know you'll pay for some wood that you'll never use, but how about all that dope you don't get to catch when you're spraying, you know? Now just snip it. Alright, we got this down. This is getting pretty close. So the next thing I could do to go ahead, this is already getting into shape. The next thing I can do to get this closer is to, let's see if I can bend this around. Come over to the old belt sander. And I'll run this front and hack this off. I'm going to slant it back. Get this puppy real close. Within sanding block close. That's all I need. Now we'll come back here and do the angle of the back. Oh yeah, just hack it off. Let it chew it. Man, what does that take? Is that taking the time at all? I got one of these. I never had one of these things when I was a kid. Had to do all this by hand. Alright, so I can see there's a little bit of excess bulk right here. What the heck? No sense in rasping that down when I can just cut it, but I'll be a little bit careful here. Alright. Now, before I cut this off and finish this, I'm going to show you where the tool comes in. This is a Buttafuoco Rasputin. This is one of those big, well, get you back over here. This is one of those big files that's got a real rough, ugly edge to it and then a real fine edge. I don't hardly ever rarely use this because it gouges out on balsa. You know, it really cuts it down like crazy. And you might think, hey, that's a good thing, but I tell you what, in my experiences, you only want to use it just to start a shape and then get down to that fine side. Alright, what I want to do is just do one side of this real quick. And I'm using that real rough side right now just to get the high spots off. Alright, there they are. I'm going to put this up. I think you ought to be able to see this in the old lap. And I'll take this down here like this. better put some seeing eye glasses on and really see this close because this is what I don't want to mess up. It doesn't matter where you start, great day. You start in the middle, you start in the front. The idea is to go ahead and rasp this down with a file, with this big heavy duty file. And as soon as you hear the file knock on the edge of that plywood, stop on that side. Move to another place. Sounds like this. That's the noise. Otherwise everything's pretty smooth here. And I'll just venture this up to the front and give you a little thought of philosophy here on where I'm careful and where I'm not. As you can see by the alignment method that I use to just I just threw these blocks into place. I eyeballed them into alignment. Remember, you're talking about this 2 inches of width stretched out to like nearly 60 inches. Alright, so I didn't, and I've never thought that was terribly important that I would measure it exactly and drill the holes with my drill press and all. I just jump in there and drill it by hand. But when it comes time to getting this close to your template, anything else that you do, or at least that I do, whenever, this is how I approach it. When I get down to the nitty-gritty and something's got to be accurate and right, that's when I slow down. Promise you. Everything else, run at a rapid pace if you want it. If you want to be a quick builder, do it fast. Hey, I come in here and sweat sometimes because I'm behind or I want to get ahead and, you know, schedules are this and that. I know somebody's bugging me to go fishing and I'm not going to work in the shop for a couple of nights, so I'll try and get some extra work done fast. You can hear those edges touching now. There they are. I'm going to get away from there. That's good. Coming down the center here, both sides are touching and making a noise. Just barely touching. Don't quite have there. Now I got the tip running. But even though I'm hurrying and I'm trying to get some extra work done fast, when it comes time to be precise and to put it on the money, I know that slow enough. If I don't slow down and I mess it up, I got to do it, start it all over again and do that whole step again, and I hate doing things twice. I hate making a mistake and repeating the same thing twice. Alright, you get the idea with this. Alright, you see what this has done? I've already started making a nice contour to this whole rib set. Right there. It's a little hairy. Let me cut this off and finish this up to save some tape time. And then I'll come back to you and I'll show you how to really polish it out. Alright, I'm back. And I got this thing all sanded down except for one little part. Nice to have a little compressed air. Kind of clean the dust off the old Buttafuoco shirt. I use this to clean off my whole block. We'll cut that noise off. Alright, and that makes that nice and clean. Don't forget to check that out. Alright, I've got this beauty clean, and I went ahead and sanded on this side. Alright, you can see that's just contoured right there to the ribs. No problem. I think it was a little high. Maybe have to look at it like this. I've made my own sanding block. This is a piece of birch or something. It's light, but it's hardwood. I've had it for like 30 years, and I wrap a half a sheet of 220 around it. That's all I use for all my heavy stuff and for knocking things down. Then I'll go to 320 or 400 and then on up for finishes and stuff. But this is what I used on this block. Alright, I'll cut it back and forth like that, kind of at an angle, feeling for the edge of my root and my template. You'll know when you get it down, and when you're done, the whole thing, you'll barely be able to see those strips of balsa. It'll look like one nice, beautiful, gorgeous block. Now, I don't know if you can see this in the film. Now, this is the fuzzy part that I did not do, because you might be wondering. All of this is easy to do. You come up here at the top, you just watch it, get real close to it in your edges, just watch it, smooth it right on down. But when you get back here, you can't exactly go across. I turn it over like this, and I'll file it even with both sides like this. Sand it. Alright, and I'll watch it. I watch it for smoothness, and I'm feeling for whenever I touch my templates. But the idea is the fact that I'm getting my block in the same angle as from what's going to be my trailing edge from here to here. Now, when I was a kid, and I had no big brother when I was a kid, the closest person to me, Wendy, was my second cousin, Tom. Alright, but in a sense, I guess we do at least play some brotherhood once in a while. I used to do it the opposite. I put the trailing edge even together, and I had all those slanted slots at my leading edge. And of course my 1/4 inch square did not fit into them snug, only a sharp edge of it. Well, when I got back into this and read articles and stuff and saw how other people did this basically like I did, maybe they try and align this up a little bit more precise than I do, but I still get the required results. I quickly found out that it's better to have the leading edge straight across, and what I do is when I take all of this apart, I stack them up like this, even with the trailing edge, and I take this block and I knock it off. I knock off that little bit of an angle, and now everything's perfect. It's all in tune, and it's just really gorgeous that way. So what I've got here now, that I've got everything sanded, I've got a whole sanded block. The only couple of changes I can make is I can come across here from the bandsaw, but when I do this, you've got to really lay this on here flat. You can almost, here's how I gauge it. You can see where there's space, you can see where it's flush, and again, the principle here is to go slow. Rake it across there. Yeah, those ribs are going to talk back to you. Go slow. If you see yourself developing an angle, put more pressure on that side and get rid of that angle. And I'll just take a few swipes at a time. I could see where I was off a touch. That swipe just about got it out. That's all it takes. That swipe got it out, and now I've got this gorgeous, should be 1/4 inch, just about all the way down. This little edge looks like it might be a little fat right there. I mean, just minutely, but probably not going to make any difference at all. And you can I take my 1/4 inch square and lay it there, and you can see where that comes across there just perfect. Alright, so much for this. It's all sanded and polished and buffed down. Here's what we're going to do next. I want to cut these notches. Alright, and of course, I want to make my 1/4 inch square fit in there like Dick's hat band. And the previous set, remember crystal number 4? I've already got these notched out. And I tell you what, when you lay that in there, again, termites don't get in there. You want this a perfect fit. If you get too loose, your ribs are going to get sloppy on you when you get out there to laying this all out, spreading it all out. Leading edge, imperative. This is where you can run the whole set. Leading edge has got to be just molded in there perfect. That's the hardest part. So for the rest of the few minutes for tonight that I have left, I'm going to do that first. Kind of sneak up here a little bit close. I'm just really hoping that I'm still in view. I'm taking my Zona saw here, and I'm going to kind of clamp this in between my knees here. And I'm going to start this cut right here on this edge, but I'm inside my template. And I'm just going to start this minor cut. I should voice this down on something, but again, I don't have a cameraman or a camera woman with me. I'm going to knock this down here until it's just getting down to that inside notch. That's all I want to do. And this is not difficult. This is not a scary thing. But the idea is not to take off too much, of course. And make a great big old wide 45-degree. Look at there. These puppies just fall right off. Now, it looks like it got a pretty nice slot there, and it looks like it's probably usable already, but I'll throw the old 1/4 inch square in there with the end that I've already honed off, and I can see the middle of it is a little bit fat, and this back side is not even coming close. So I take this file that I've already prepared, which is a square file, and I'll come in here and just work this puppy down. And again, when I hear the noise of the old template, I know I need to stop. I hate it when I run that off like that. Alright, and the principle here is go slow, do a side at a time, go slow, be careful. Alright, I like how that looks already, and I'm feeling the bottom, I'm feeling with the file that I bottomed out. I'm going to come to this side, and I can see where it was off. Just remember, it's nice to have your template already pre-cut to that 1/4 inch angle. I got a little notch I made in there with the small side of the file, so I'm going to turn it over. Look, just a swipe or two, that's all that took. And I'm working on the bottom of it now. You'll notice that files like this, they have a taper to them. I stay away from this taper. I use this fat, even side right there for the majority of the work. Sometimes I'll turn around and hold it with a small end, and I'll just use that big end right there and just lightly do my work. Just a light little sand there. Oh boy. Okay, I don't know if you can see this on the camera this close, but there's a little rise right here. It's still fat on this side, but on this side, it's right on. So this looks gorgeous. So, which side do you take off? Even though this is not here yet, and this one's fine, I'm going to have to take balsa wood off of this side to make this drop back down. Can't go in anymore. It's not going to make any difference on this side. I might even lightly touch them both, but I'll go back here and I'll make sure that I got this square and backed up first. Jeff, I'm telling you, this is where it pays to really take your time, because I'm telling you right now, it's got to be $20 worth of balsa wood I'm holding in my hand. And I could botch the whole thing right here on this notch. Tell you what, when in doubt, get the file off of it and check it. Oh boy, we're still a little fat right there. Let's go on that side. Just a shave or two more. Of course, this is a different set of I got two templates. You want to keep a master one now. If you've designed a new ship, whereas here I'm working with Crystal, and I've got a guy cut me a set of foam wings to see if I can throw foam together and build a lighter ship with it and make it a practice ship that I can go out and wear out and get brave with those outsides. Alright, so, wow, here's the ending result. Look at that edge right there. Pristine, right on the money. Alright, this side here looks like there's a slight overhang of balsa, but if there is, see if you've erred, take the old sanding block, run right over it, and say, I say to myself, self, did that fix that? And voila, like that, the old man cutting the diamond in the back of that Lincoln, perfect. So I'll just come back around here. As a commercial years ago. I deal in a lot of nostalgia. I'm going to touch that just a bump. Gorgeous. And what we have here, ladies and gentlemen, is a leading edge that's right in there. At least, I'll say this, I can work with this. Alright? Close enough for me to get sheeting over it, to glue that puppy on there, take my sanding block with the ribs all spaced out, barely touch it, piece of cake. Alright, now the other hard one. We got leading edges, dropping stuff all on the floor. Now remember what I said about my notches? This is for 3-inch leading edge, this is for 4-inch leading edge. And I like a little overhang of about 1/16 of an inch. So that's why these look closer together. I'm going to take this puppy, I'll do the other side later. I'll take this puppy, there's 3 inches, here's 4 inches, and I'm going to take my Zona saw again, but there's a little lesson to learn here. I'm going to start the cut just inside my template marks. I don't know if y'all use machinery to do this or not. I like to do it by hand because I'm not going all the way down to the bottom. I'm not going to go to the bottom. Say it to yourself, Bob. We are not going to the bottom. We're going about 1/16 to 1/8 of an inch away. You can't see that cut there, but you can darn sure see it here. See that cut? I'm not all the way at the bottom yet. I don't know if you can see that in the camera or not. I'm going to come back to this side and do this one. And I'm going to say to myself, I want to do the same thing, but I don't want to go to the bottom. So take a look there, take a look there, another swipe or two, close enough. You know why that is? It's because I hate tooling out these little slots. If you go all the way to the bottom when you're cutting this corner square, Whenever you take your X-Acto and do this like I like to just break them off. I think that is so cool. Alright, it'll break them off high. And then all I got to do is take my file and apply it. Look at this, halfway through it already. Just peel them out. Just like it was a puzzle. Come on this side. Knock these outside ones off there. Just touch it. And you know what? Forget about it. It's a done deal. So I got this slot already started, and I'm not even close to my completed quarter-inch slot. Look, I'm going to take the X-Acto knife and run it through there. Guess what it does? Roughs it up like crazy. Splinters it up. And you know why? Why would Bob do that? Why do you ask? I'm so glad you asked. It makes it so easy to file. And if you want to get the debris out of the way, again, hit it with the old air. That's a done deal. And now I'm taking that square file I had again, and voila. The doggone square, this square file, is almost a quarter-inch square. And now I'm going to work on the back here. I'm going to taper that back. Taper the back. Now this takes a little bit of time, and you might note I am holding the file in the opposite end. I don't have all those neat file handles like billions of people have and use. I can also feel that from what little bit I've already started filing, I'm feeling the rib template on this side, not the tip though. I've got to knock it down some more. Oh, and there it is. There's that squeaky noise. I'm going to turn it around, and now I'm on the front. I mean, folks, this only takes just a few moments per step. And I'm telling you, if you tack this on a Saturday morning, cut these babies out, had your 4 to 6 pound stock of balsa wood stacked back there, all paid for and ready to go, man, you could cut yourself a wing from scratch, from nothing, in a day. You'd have planking done. You'd get so fired up. You say, can't wait. Can't wait to start finishing this puppy. That's what I live for, is to get into the dope. It's good stuff, man. Yep, love that Brodak dope. Keep popping the file out. Alright, I'm just eyeballing that, but again, I want to just make sure that I'm kind of getting close. But I'm kind of seeing a 1/4 inch already, and look at this. Look at this, a nice tight fit. Just a skoshie wide right there, but I think it's going to work. Now the only problem is it's not all the way down. So I get a second shot. Pull this out, and it might be this set of templates. Maybe I don't have them deep enough on this one. Maybe I got a high spot down here. All you can do is just keep attacking at it. Nailing it one side or the other. Boy, I had a lot of fun at the Nats. Gee! All my friends have been sending me alarm clocks lately. I wonder why. Can't imagine. I'm never late for work. I started back to work too. Oh, what a bummer. Uh-oh. Uh-oh. What have we here? Root Catholic. Tip just like a silly millimeter off. I'll come back on this side. I'm going to lean the file, remember? I'm going to stay away from that root. Slow down. Take your time. Just a few swipes. And voila. This was not as nice as the other one. This is almost as tight as Dick's hat band, but I can see like a 1/32 in there, something like that. A 1/132. All right. The idea though, you see that little spar right down there, right on the top. You could take this sanding block of mine, run that over it, and the whole thing melts together. No problem. Exactly what you want. All right. So much for slot cutting. There's your front. There's one spar. I'm going to do the other one a little bit later. I got the back taper down with my sanding block after I ran it on the sander. I got this whole set done. We've been at this, what, 30 or 40 minutes? And it only took me about 10 minutes to file this down and to sand it, pre-sand it down. The edges, that's nothing. That's kind of fun stuff. So what we'll do is we're going to pick up with the old set, which, that's number 5. This is number 4. I've already got it all set up. I've taken the bolts out, and I've just run some tape around this to keep this even. Because what I really wanted to do is I wanted to lay this down on my Dremel and cut all this out at once. But in this case, I would have to take all the ribs off, stack them up, every other one, put the templates back over it, and wing it on the saw. Too much trouble. Let me show you the way I do it now. And while I'm setting this up, let me ask you, is this a critical thing? Nah, we're just making a slot for our lead outs, all right, and we're taking off some weight. So I'm going to bore this great big hole. You can call it whatever you want. I'm leaving you, Jeff. Go to the front here, and I'm just going to bore this out. But I'm going to be a little bit careful when I get close toward the bottom. You know why? Because without having something backed up on the other side, it tends to split balsa like crazy. So I'm just going to turn around and say, this is an eyeball thing. Let's see how close I can hit that other side. Oh, there it is. No problem without messing it up. And I say to myself, what the heck? I think I'll just go ahead and drill a hole right in the middle, just to make what I'm fixing to do even easier. Get close. Get close. Get on the other side and say, I got it right on the spar line. Let's see if I can hit that again. Funny how it just automatically goes right in there. No muss, no fuss. Now, we got that now. Put this tool up. We're going to take that old Zona saw off. Got the old super sharp blade here that I hit with the Arkansas. Yep, you guessed it. Remember, this reaches all the way through the width of that block. And now, hoping not to sever my hands horribly, I'm going to take this and start knocking this out like this. And I'm going to use these holes I hit. Yep. Oh, look at them come out. And then just dig on in. Now remember, this is a step you could actually let this old blade go inward. So again, take your time. And let me see how many of these I cut out. I just about got halfway through. But do I care at this point? Heck no. I'm going to come to this side. I'm going to whack through here, and through here, and through here. Now remember, this is kind of I don't have a lot of fancy tools and stuff. This is a layman's term, layman's way of doing this. Quick, easy, but effective. I mean, so far I've gotten, well, I thought I had straight wings. It was the weight that was killing me on both the other airplanes. But my last airplane, my last Crystal, the first two were foam, believe it or not. The last one is all built up. And it's the straightest wing I've ever had. And I did it exactly like this. And I'm doing these. Now, I've cut through there, and I'm just digging this stuff out. Alright, did we get all the way through yet? Did we get through? dig those out, and I can see, no, I didn't get through. So now I'll reach that old blade in there, and now it's going to get through there. Oh yeah, you can feel it giving. You bet. And you're just about ready to punch it out the other side. Jeff, I was going to introduce my sweet mom to you. But she's in the house and she's got her hair all up. No, she finished that yesterday because she went to church this morning. She's a Salzano. So I want you to know they're not at war anymore. The Botafucos and all them people. At least not that I know of. Alright. Do I have a slot? Oh yeah, I got a slot. Is it crude? Yeah, it's a little crude. Could I take my knife here and just go inside here and eliminate some balsa? You bet I could, because the stuff there is sharp. And then I can knock out a bunch of this and save myself some more time, because what do you think we're going to do to get the rest of this out? Man, I hope you can see this, because this is... I don't remember if I exactly did it this way. I just come up with this idea for this set. Here, just to take my knife, my good old sharp knife, and, okay, that's a done deal. So what? I got all those pieces out of there. I got it kind of wide. Guess what I'm going to do next? Yep, you got it. I want to make some nice, pretty corners right here with the old Dremel. I'm going to stick it in there, and we'll have to change this. It's too, my template's not wide enough for it. So, I wanted it this wide anyway. It's time to change it. Boy, Bob, you could do this off tape. What I'm going to do is get this down to this point. Remember, I'm at the root. All I care about is making me a nice little slot. There you go. Now we're into some balsa. Oh yeah, I think you can see the story right there. I'll come to this side. I'll go ahead and widen this puppy out. Better stop somewhere right there, kiddo. And let's see, would it be better to show you? It's easy to do the front. You just swallow this out right here and get your Dremel in there about right there, go to the other side, then take your round file and just meet it. But the taper is a little bit harder, so I'll go ahead and finish up the taper. I'm just getting in here like this. And I'm going to get a taper started. I'm at the tip. Now I'm back at the root. And you know it's going to be kind of at an angle there. I'm not worried about this being finished real fine. All I care about is getting a nice, close, even slot. That's all I care about. Once I get that done, I want to forget about it. I don't know, maybe in a year, maybe by next we might say, if I hear one more person say forget about it, Boy, that looks pretty close, Bob. That's pretty nice. Wheel that around here so you can see it, but again, I didn't realize this set of Tempest wasn't wide. You can see how narrow it is right there, and I've widened it out to the width of my Dremel. Alright, I'm going to clean that up and make that look even in a minute. Then I'll take this coarser round file, run it right in there. Big deal. There it is, all evened out. Then you'll take this, and you just go right across there. Alright? That's it. Cut it right down. Alright, and that should be enough. Excuse me. This is a little crude here because I've widened this hole with my Dremel, but I'll come back and I'll put another taping on top of this. I'll put a last piece. Let me finish this up, and we'll smoothen that out, and I'll have that nice of a slot right there, up and down the middle, and the whole thing will be done. And that's the name of that tune. Alright, so here was the first set that I had pre-done before I started taping. This is the set I did just now in the last hour, and it's darn near done. All I need is another slot right here, and then bore out the center stuff and slot this out. Piece of cake. You can take your time and make it a nice neat slot like this. I think I'm going to make it for both and see what happens. I'll just do this by hand and cut it out with my knife, and then just file it out and make it look nice and neat. I'll show you the results of both whenever I get it done and come back to you. Going out to get my coffee. Okay, I'm back. Still looking for Joey Buttafuoco. I've honed out the inside of these ribs, and I left this one with the regular markings that I had before. You can see through there that it's nice, and I think you can get that close enough. I tell you what, I don't know if the camera shot excuse me, will let you really appreciate how nice a block of wood this is right now, with it all sanded down, fine sanded on the outside, but you just almost hate to take it apart. But now is the time. I'm ready to just take these screws off, and because I only have these two sets of screws, I tape this set up to finish it while I use the set of screws on the other one, so I could show you both of these stacks. Alright, this is the one that I did, and sometimes when I take tape off, it might rough the edge just a little bit, you know, it might feather it. I'll just kind of touch it. That's all you got to do. Just put a little touch on it. And what I'm doing, I'm holding this whole stack now, just only with the pressure of my hands, but all the filing and buffing and sanding kind of keeps the whole block together. Anyway, you can definitely see that this is wider. This is where I cut it out with my Dremel disc. I did the other one just by cutting it out with the X-Acto and a file. And of course, you can see the difference in the thickness. It's probably going to be no big thing at all. I probably won't even be able to measure the weight. But here comes the last step. We're going to take the rib off. Alright, I got both pieces off, and of course I ain't worried about the holes that I drilled and made, you know, big deal, just lightning holes as far as I'm concerned. But now I'm at the dilemma that I want to straighten up the trailing edge, and of course everything is at an angle back there, so I'm going to take this, and I believe you can see this in the picture. I'll turn that around just a little bit. Alright, I'm just going to come over here to the edge of my workbench, and I'm going to carefully push every one of these down in their order. Every one of them has to break away from the other adjacent rib that they're sticking to. Alright? And using the old proverbial eyeball again, I'm going to look and ensure that every one of these is stair-stepped. And they are. That one, I got one in the middle here that's being a little contrary. Put my 1/4 inch square right there. Wiggle that around. It makes all the bottom pieces touch. And now, I'm going to look at it to see that it stands vertical like I want it. It's pretty vertical. There we go, that's even better. Alright, now I have the taper in the front, but they're all flat. And what I've got, I'll lay this down back here, and now I'm going to push all the backs down. And take something like that 1/4 inch square, smooth on it, and man, that just lines up the whole back end. Now, I got the back end set up like this, and you can see all the ridges. I mean, they're just minute. And again, for the sake of the movie, I might come back and dress this up a little bit closer later, but I'm going to hang this over and get all this stuff. Oh boy. Hang on, here's my super duper. This is my sanding board. Alright, I'm going to lay this down here flat. In fact, this is better, the sandpaper will grip it. I'm going to take the old sanding block, and what I'm going to really pay attention to is my angle of attack. I want this back flat. Now remember, you're designing your own airplane. You've already compensated for this little angle of attack. You're going to file this down, sand it down, so that it meets the right thickness to meet your trailing edge. Line up all the sheeting with it, so that the thickness of your trailing edge is that mite bit thicker than your flat material is going to be. I just barely touched it. That's all it takes. I got this one tip side here I want to hit a little bit more. And it's going to be hard to like align these ribs up unless I kind of patty cake them down here. Hold them loose. Because what I want to show you is I'm off on the top side. Alright, still off. Still not flat. Huh, almost there. Remember, go slow, shave at a time. Just in case any beginners get a hold of this. I know lots of you expert guys are really in tune to this. But Jeff, I don't know how everybody else has their final issue with this, but this is mine, and this is the way I do it. There's my trailing edge now. I think we got this in line. I'll have to edit the tape when I'm done. Here's my trailing edge in line. Or you can see, in fact, you can see the ridges. There's just almost no way you're going to shove this all the way back and get all of these perfectly aligned. They do have just like a thousandth of an inch angle to them, because you sat there and built everything on an angle anyway. But when you spread this out into 60 inches, 58, 60-inch wingspan, or 62, that sheeting is going to go right over it. It's going to glue right on it with no problem at all. That's how I flatten the back. All right, perpendicular to the root rib, and now I've got all these ribs just like this.
I hope it helps you to put things back into perspective.
And what I'm going to do is I'm going to lay this root rib, I'm going to lay it down this way for my inboard panel. I'm going to lay the outboard rib down this way for my outboard panel, and keep going every other rib and build an inboard panel and an outboard panel on every other rib as I pick them up.
I think it's okay if they watch cartoons.
And that is the deal, Lucille.
Yeah.
Here's number 4 all ready to string out. Tomorrow night, I'll go ahead and lay this out. I'm going to take the foam off, and this is my glass board under here. I've had all this foam on here for working on Crystal 3 for prior to the gnats and the tank changes and stuff I made to it here in the last week or so. I'll take all this off, set up my blocks and my trailing edge barricade for my alignment, and I'm going to start laying all these out over a sheet of paper I have that's got my 2-inch rib spacings. My outboard panel will all come in a 1/16 of an inch, one rib thickness for every rib I lay out. It'll make it the 1 inch shorter, because there's 15 of these, and 15/16 is nearly 1 inch, you know, easy math. And it'll keep that right panel, that thousandth of an inch difference. It'll make it the same thickness, and I'll lay that puppy out here within a week or so. I'll have a whole wing constructed with the spars and everything. Pin it together, keep all the alignment straight, keep checking it. Voila, you're in business. Here's the next set. Here's the first set. All done. We're ready to go to work here. Ribs made in a flash. Now, realizing that you might, Jeff, especially since I really made this tape for you, you might be saying, but hey, Joey, I never done this before. I'm not going to do it in an hour or so. Right. It might just take you a morning, just a mere morning, but, you know, with a little bit of time, just reference the tape and take it step at a time. Keep your templates. Just remember, every time that you make another set, you keep scrubbing the edges of your template. You're going to make your airfoil smaller. I mean, it might be by thousandths, but I might get 3 ships out of this, and I'll go back to my master drawing and recut or bump it against it and see if I have a rib thickness that's closest. I don't know. Maybe some guys just use one template that they make per airplane that they use, but I'll make a couple of them out of them because I made 2 sets of templates this time for these ribs. Alright, that's the name of that tune. Went out and flew the RC tonight and checked out that 94 stroke a little bit. Man, it fired up, loosened my thumbs up a little bit. We'll take this tape and we'll go out, and I'm going to fly it again tomorrow, Tuesday night, Wednesday night. I don't know, as soon as we can get out there, Linda's going to film it for us. We'll tag on about 10 minutes of that on top of this tape, and then I'll duplicate it and I'll mail it off to you. Alright, had fun doing this. This is my first taping. So I'm claiming all royalties, Wendy. You duplicate this and send this all over the country. I'm sure everybody will know me by Rip Van Dixon, Bob Buttafuoco, all that stuff. There's a new group of stunt pilots in the South. I visited your friend Don Dixon, Wendy. We're now called the Wild Southern Boys of Stunt. I don't know how wild we are, but I know District 5 has a good turnout at the Nats. At least we did this year, about 14 ships. And you'll see all that in the upcoming article. Bye for now. See you on the field in the next day or so. Had fun.
And today's mail, and hey, by the way, thanks to Bob Dixon. I hope he'll keep contributing his ideas and technologies. This is a Magnum 50, let's see, 52 or 53, I guess it doesn't matter. It's a Magnum. This is pretty much a clone of the OS engine at about $50 cheaper, roughly. Has a little bit fancier valve covers. It's supposed to be a relatively high quality engine. We're going to test this on the next video. Next video you see, we'll be having this in, hopefully in Mike's yellow Cardinal. We're going to continue working with the 70. We're going to try to make a little gizmo to adjust the carburetor inside the plane. That's one of the things we're going to do, maybe even before the end of this video. I don't know how much time we have left, but and the great news is, and I'm really happy to report this, Don Dixon is going to be sending us a YS52, 53. I don't know if these motors are 52s or 53s. Doesn't really matter. But we're going to read the directions over, see what gives with this. I just hope that between the YS, the OS, and this, we're going to be able to come up with one motor that's really worth putting in our Typhoon. Time will tell, but if we don't do the testing, I guess we never really will know. Last thing I got, this was from Noel Drindak. He came up with, I'm not going to go into this much, this is something somebody might want to do, is download this. It's from Master Bond, and it has about 100, Larry Cunningham will probably want to do this, download this whole thing from Master Bond. They have some products. I'm sure we're going to find things in here that we're going to use. This is from Noel Drindak. They make all kinds of high-end exotic stuff. Master Bond. You'll like this. They're in Hackensack, New Jersey. Here's their phone number. Maybe we'll call up and get a full catalog. Master Bond. Anyway, this is from Noel. I'll go over this, and I hope we'll see you on the next video. Hope you're enjoying doing our 4-strokes and learning some new technologies from some of the other very high skill level modelers like Bob Dixon. And thanks a lot for joining us. It's getting ready to do the thing we always do with the hinges. One more little tip: we always cut the hinges and lubricate them. We might be doing that tomorrow, and we're gonna have his plane ready to fly within a day or two. It's all buffed out. The Candy Apple video is almost done. Mike Kajeski's first full-size stunner, Miss Jamie, and it's a beauty. Now, the way we know that we've really succeeded is we have Rich Peabody crazy with jealousy. So whenever you can make Rich jealous, you know you've succeeded at doing something special. And I guess the most important thing we want to work on, in fact I'll probably do it on the next video, we don't have enough time, is to make a throttle adjustment for this. These motors, especially the 70, has so much power. We're going to need a throttle. Instead of making 100 Venturis up, I'm going to try to figure out a way of making a throttle. And we'll do that on the next tape. We'll see you then for some more test flying. Again, thanks for joining us. And hey, the way this is working out, everybody's getting a lot of flying, everybody's having a lot of fun, and we're all learning from each other. Please be sure to get your name on the email mail-out list by contacting Bob Zambelli at his email, or do it by mail. Get on that list for the day we learn something. We try to get it out on the net as soon as possible. And again, thanks for joining us. Who would have ever thought back in 1987 when we got 3rd place at the Nats here, and